The duality between light and darkness is a theme as old as humanity itself. Since time immemorial, these forces have been seen as opposites locked in eternal conflict. However, upon closer examination, we realize it is not a battle but a dance. Light and darkness are not adversaries but partners shaping the human experience. Light guides and inspires us, while darkness challenges and transforms us. Within this duality emerges the concept of evil, often feared and rejected, but rarely understood in its depth. What if evil were not merely something to be feared but a powerful tool for spiritual growth? At its core, evil can be divided into two manifestations. One that imprisons, restricting our potential and disconnecting us from our essence, and another that purifies, forging us through challenges and opening pathways to enlightenment. Understanding these nuances invites us to look inward and reevaluate how we interact with the darker aspects of life. When contemplating the idea of darkness, it is inevitable to feel a mix of fascination and fear. After all, the unknown always carries an air of mystery. But what if we began to see darkness as something beyond fear? As a portal to a deeper understanding of ourselves and the universe around us? It can be either a prison or a catalyst depending on how we choose to face it. In this exploration we will journey through darkness, not as an enemy but as an ally. Together we will discover how to discern between the two types of darkness and learn to use it as a tool for transformation. Evil, in its complexity, transcends the simplistic definitions we often assign to it. When we think of evil, we typically associate it with pain, suffering, and destruction. But on a deeper level, it also carries the potential for learning and transformation. From a philosophical and spiritual perspective, evil is not an end in itself but a reflection of energy in motion, sometimes limiting and disconnecting, other times purifying and reconnecting. It is like fire, capable of consuming and devastating, yet also of warming and refining. Imprisoning evil is like an invisible cage, restricting our vision and reducing our potential. It manifests as paralyzing fear, persistent ignorance, or unquenchable desires. This form of evil acts as a veil obscuring our essence, making us forget who we truly are. On the other hand, there exists a type of evil that does not imprison but transforms. It is the darkness we face during life's most challenging moments, the trials that force us to grow. This purifying darkness does not destroy to ruin but to rebuild. It is the challenge that compels us to look within and find the strength we did not know we possessed. The duality of evil can be understood as part of a larger dynamic of existence. While imprisoning evil keeps us trapped in cycles of repetition and stagnation, transformative evil challenges us to break those chains and find new horizons. This understanding leads to an important reflection. How can we discern between these two types of darkness? To do so, we must look beyond appearances and listen to the message that each experience carries. Here emerges a powerful metaphor: fire. When uncontrolled, it destroys indiscriminately, but when guided with intention, it refines gold and purifies all that is essential. Evil works similarly. When we blindly submit to it, we lose ourselves in its destructiveness. But if we face it with awareness, it can become a powerful ally in our spiritual journey. The choice of how to interact with evil is always in our hands. Imprisoning evil disconnects us from our essence and envelopes us in patterns that drain our vital energy. It acts as a shadow that limits, not with the intention of challenging, but of keeping our consciousness confined in cycles of fear, attachment, and ignorance. This darkness manifests in our daily lives as constant fear that paralyzes our decisions or attachments that prevent us from moving forward. Ignorance, whether of our true nature or the dynamics that govern the world, traps us in narrow perceptions that stifle our potential for expansion. Anxiety, accumulated resentments, and self-sabotaging patterns are clear symptoms of imprisoning evil. They feed on our weaknesses, perpetuating a sense of inadequacy and powerlessness. This aspect of evil is rooted in the universal archetypes that inhabit the collective unconscious. Among them, we can recognize the Brothers of Darkness, symbolic entities representing disorienting and distracting energies. These forces divert our attention from what is true, filling our time and energy with trivial concerns or paralyzing fears. In various spiritual and mythological traditions, darkness is depicted as a veil that obscures the truth, separating us from clarity and purpose. It is described as the great deceiver, whispering in our ears to forget our inner light. But imprisoning evil does not act alone. It grows stronger because we often give it permission to inhabit our thoughts and emotions. By ignoring or rejecting certain aspects of ourselves, we allow them to grow in the shadows, taking on distorted forms. This type of darkness thrives in the absence of introspection, feeding on our resistance to confront the parts of ourselves we prefer not to see. Imprisoning evil is essentially a cage constructed by our own fears and attachments. It teaches us, albeit painfully, about the traps of straying from our authenticity. Breaking free from these chains requires a conscious effort to look inward, recognize the patterns that bind us, and, above all, accept that we are more than these limiting cycles. Only then can we begin to dissolve the veil that obscures the truth always available to us. Exploring transformative evil, we come to understand that darkness is not merely a force of imprisonment but also a silent teacher challenging our soul to grow. This aspect of darkness does not act to limit us but to refine us, like fire purifying gold. It is in the moments of greatest difficulty, pain, or loss that it offers us the opportunity to access deeper layers of our being, revealing inner strength that would otherwise remain dormant. Transformative darkness often arrives disguised as a crisis. It may be the loss of a relationship, the failure of a significant project, or even a period of existential emptiness. These moments, though initially consuming, are portals to a greater understanding of ourselves. When we confront darkness with courage and acceptance, it becomes a mirror reflecting hidden truths, teaching us about our resilience, compassion, and capacity to start anew. Spiritual traditions worldwide recognize the purifying power of darkness. In Sufism, the concept of fana describes the annihilation of the ego as a path to union with the divine. This process often involves traversing periods of intense discomfort and loss, but the result is a spiritual rebirth. In Buddhism, suffering is seen as a doorway to awakening, a reminder that pain is inherent to life but also an opportunity to transcend the attachment that perpetuates it. This transformative darkness calls us to look within and face aspects of ourselves we have avoided. In this confrontation lies the potential for true transmutation. Consider personal crises that led to profound transformations, an illness prompting a lifestyle change, a loss revealing new paths of purpose, or a period of solitude deepening self-understanding. These moments, though painful, are catalysts for inner rebirth. Transformative evil does not seek to destroy us but to rebuild us in alignment with our essence. It is a force that, instead of distancing us from who we are, prompts us to question, reformulate, and ultimately integrate the parts of ourselves needing attention. Just as coal under pressure becomes a diamond, we too are shaped by darkness, emerging with renewed clarity and strength. By accepting transformative darkness as part of the evolutionary process, we open space to grow in authenticity and purpose. It teaches us that, at the heart of the most challenging experiences, lies the opportunity to become higher versions of ourselves. Discerning between imprisoning and transformative evil is an essential skill for those seeking to navigate the layers of existence with depth and purpose. This distinction requires heightened awareness and self-reflection, as the two types of darkness often intertwine, challenging us to look beyond appearances. The key question to ask is this limiting me or challenging me to grow? When darkness appears as a burden, trapping us in cycles of resentment, guilt, or fear, we are likely encountering imprisoning evil. This energy immobilizes us, creating invisible barriers that distance us from our potential. Signs of stagnation include repetitive thoughts, feelings of powerlessness, and a sense of disconnection from ourselves and others. These are the moments when the shadow ensnares us, not to teach but to distract us from the path we should follow. On the other hand, transformative evil often presents as a challenge that deeply unsettles us yet simultaneously propels us out of our comfort zone. It demands courage to explore uncharted territories within ourselves. Signs of spiritual expansion may include productive discomfort, a sense of restlessness driving us to seek deeper answers, and an intuition that something significant lies beyond the pain or conflict. These moments, though difficult, move us toward greater growth. Discernment is the spiritual compass that helps us navigate these murky waters. It is the practice of pausing, reflecting, and listening. When confronted with darkness, we must ask ourselves, what is this experience trying to teach me? Or am I being called to let go of something no longer serving me or to face something I have always avoided? These questions serve as guides, illuminating hidden paths within the darkness and helping us decide how to act. To cultivate this discernment, we need to develop an intimate relationship with our inner world. Meditation, silence, and self-observation are indispensable tools. These practices create the necessary space for us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, recognizing what belongs to stagnation and what belongs to growth. When we learn to discern between these two types of darkness, we gain the ability to choose, to avoid getting lost in the shadow that limits us while embracing the darkness that challenges us to grow. This conscious choice empowers us, transforming each encounter with darkness into an opportunity for spiritual evolution. To engage with darkness in a conscious and transformative way, it is essential to adopt practical tools that help us navigate between what imprisons and what purifies. These practices are like lanterns, illuminating the darkest corners of our experience and allowing us to explore the mysteries hidden in darkness with courage and clarity. Meditation is one of the most powerful tools for cultivating this space of discernment and self-understanding. By silencing the mind, we allow the truth behind the shadows to emerge. Regular meditation practice not only connects us with our deepest essence but also helps us create a healthy distance from the thoughts and emotions that obscure our vision. Imagine sitting in silence and visualizing the darkness around you, perceiving it as a cloud dissipating with each conscious breath. This simple act can reveal the hidden light within what initially seemed like mere shadow. Another essential practice is shadow work, an approach that invites us to confront fears, traumas, and repressed aspects of ourselves. This can be done through reflective writing, answering questions such as, "What fears do I avoid facing?" Or "What parts of myself do I reject but continue to influence my choices?" This process of self-investigation, while challenging, is profoundly liberating as it helps us integrate parts of our psyche once considered undesirable. Purification rituals are equally valuable for clearing stagnant energies and creating space for new perspectives. These can be as simple as lighting a candle, visualizing its light bathing and renewing your energy, or taking a bath with herbs like lavender or rosemary, known for their cleansing properties. These symbolic acts have the power to reconnect us with our intuition and remind us that we always have the power to transform. Compassion is another essential tool. When we allow ourselves to look at darkness with an open heart, we transmute its impact. Acts of compassion, for ourselves and others, build a bridge between shadow and light. They remind us that even in the deepest darkness, there is a spark of light waiting to be ignited. By integrating these practices into our daily lives, we become alchemists of the soul, capable of transforming the lead of our inner challenges into the gold of spiritual growth. These tools do not eliminate darkness but teach us to dance with it, to embrace it as part of who we are, and to use it as a means of elevating ourselves to higher levels of understanding and authenticity. The light we find in darkness is not a force that eliminates or destroys but one that redefines and transforms. When we begin to perceive evil or darkness as an integral part of the journey toward light, we open our eyes to a universal truth. Duality is not an enemy but an ally in the process of becoming whole. In great mythological and spiritual stories, this idea is represented by the archetype of the hero descending into the underworld to face the dragon or explore unknown territories. The dragon, often seen as a symbol of fear or darkness, guards hidden treasures that can only be accessed by those courageous enough to confront it. This reflects the fact that it is in our most challenging struggles that we find the greatest potential for growth and transformation. The hero does not merely return with the treasure but emerges transformed, wiser, and more complete, carrying a new light to illuminate others. The journey through the underworld, whether literal or metaphorical, appears in many traditions. In ancient Egypt, the sun god Ra traversed the depths of the night to be reborn at dawn, symbolizing the necessity of passing through darkness to achieve renewal. In Christianity, the concept of descent into hell echoes the idea of confronting the depths of one's soul to emerge renewed. These stories teach us that darkness is not an end but a transition, a portal to a broader reality. In everyday life, this can be seen in people who transform moments of great difficulty into sources of inspiration. Think of individuals who have faced adversity, such as loss, illness, or failure, and emerged with a new perspective on life, more connected to their values and purpose. Their stories show us that by embracing the duality of light and darkness, we can find strength that transcends circumstances. Duality, far from being an obstacle, is the fabric that binds us to the wholeness of the universe. Like yin and yang, it reminds us that light and shadow coexist, complement, and are necessary for fullness. Without the contrast of darkness, we could not recognize light. Without challenges, we could not appreciate achievements. And without moments of doubt, we could not find true faith. By redefining evil as part of this journey, we understand that it is not an enemy but a reflection of lessons yet to be learned. It is an invitation to explore the unknown, embrace the difficult, and recognize that in the balance between light and shadow, we find the path to peace and inner harmony. When contemplating the connection between light and darkness, a profound revelation arises. Both emanate from the same source. They are not separate forces but complementary expressions of a single universal energy. In non-dualistic philosophies like Taoism and Advaita Vedanta, we are invited to transcend apparent duality and see the unity behind the polarities. In Taoism, the concept of yin and yang represents this interdependence. Darkness and light do not exist in isolation but in an eternal cycle of transformation. Each contains the seed of the other, demonstrating that change is constant and there is no real separation. This perspective teaches us to accept life's impermanence and fluidity as a dance between opposites, where each aspect plays an essential role. In Advaita Vedanta, the idea of unity goes even further. All experiences, whether pleasant or challenging, are seen as manifestations of the same divine reality. Darkness, then, is not something to be rejected but an expression of the universal energy that also creates light. This understanding dissolves the separation between good and evil, between shadow and illumination, inviting us to embrace the totality of existence. Darkness, in this context, becomes an invitation to humility. It reminds us that there are mysteries we cannot fully comprehend and parts of ourselves and the universe that remain beyond our conscious reach. This acceptance of mystery is not a sign of weakness but of wisdom, the courage to trust that even in the absence of clear answers, we are connected to something greater, something that transcends our limited understanding. Spiritual practices like meditation and contemplation help us cultivate this vision. When we silence the mind and allow ourselves to simply be, we begin to perceive the unity behind the polarities. Darkness ceases to be a threat and becomes a fertile space where inner light can emerge. In this state of presence, we experience the truth that, ultimately, we are whole, not despite the darkness but because of it. This unity is not just theoretical, it is experiential. It is in the moment we face a challenge and realize it makes us stronger. It is in the acceptance of our flaws as part of our learning. And it is in the compassion that arises when we recognize that everyone, without exception, carries both light and shadow within them. In the grand scheme of the universe, light and darkness are not forces in conflict but parts of the same flow, moving in harmony to create the dance of life. This realization frees us from the need to judge or resist, allowing us to embrace life in all its complexity. By welcoming both light and shadow, we discover the true unity that connects us to everything. As we reflect on the journey between light and darkness, we are invited to introspection. Where is our resistance? What aspects of ourselves do we avoid, fearing the vulnerability they may expose? This questioning leads us to realize that darkness, often seen as an adversary, is actually a space for learning. Instead of fleeing from it, we are called to engage with its mysteries, understanding its hidden lessons. Imagine for a moment a mirror in a dark room. It reflects not only what is visible but also what remains hidden. Such is our relationship with inner darkness. It reflects our untold stories, silenced pains, and hidden fears. Facing it is not an act of defeat but of courage. The courage to acknowledge what we have yet to understand and to embrace what we have avoided. Transformation begins with questions. What parts of your journey have you ignored? Is there a recurring pattern that insists on being heard? By allowing yourself to listen to these questions, you open a door to self-knowledge and healing. It is in this moment of honesty that we realize darkness is not the end of the journey but a portal to rebirth.